Complete this rhyme. Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
How are you working? How?
Who's that?
"23 days to election 2024. Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of The Situation Room, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. On Situation Room, as you know, we talk politics, and as we prepare for the December election, we'll tell you the preparation being made by the country's Electoral Commission, an important organization as far as the election of December is concerned, and what the political parties have also been up to and their presidential candidate. Today, we'll focus more on the Ashanti region because there's a development in that particular region considered a stronghold of the governing New Patriotic Party. When I come back from the break, I'll tell you who I'm doing this show with. My name is Sammi Wiafe.
Boys get front row seats to an exciting Premier League game. The girls are next door, catching up on a scenic getaway to the Australian outback. Watching together is always better. That's why DSTV Stream has content for the whole family to enjoy. Families that watch together, bond together.
Election 2024 is here with us, and we have just 23 days to go. We'll know who our next president will be and the next parliament, made up of 276 members of that particular house. On Situation Room today, we are looking at what the political parties have been up to and their presidential candidates. The Electoral Commission just this week made some major announcement. It says the voter register is ready. It has given a breakdown according to the regions and how they come out as far as the election is concerned. There's also the issue of the Amenfi Central constituency. You're aware of a court action. Just this week, a court in Takrady, the Western region, has made a significant ruling as far as the parliamentary election in Amenfi Central constituency is concerned. My name is Sammi Wiafe, and I'm doing this show with my friend, brother, Fred Tete Djabanor. Fredo, what's up?
Sammi, we did.
Everything good. Election is here, 23 days. Remember when we were counting down to 100 days, 90 days? We never thought 23 days would come.
We didn't think it would come this early.
This early, yeah.
We didn't think it would come this early, but I mean, it's come this early. I mean, is it early actually? It has come. It has come. It has come. And
well, when we started the countdown, we were thinking as challenge. 100 days there, wow, you know, be today.
It's like some 2 years
yeah,
from
you
now.
know.
Finally,
but Charlie, here we
have
are.
about 23 days.
Yeah, 23 days
23
to elections.
Days to elections. And, you know, once you get into the 20s, it means that campaigning gets intense, a lot of political stories coming out. The political actors all engaging the citizenry, all in a bid to convince people to vote for them, both parliamentary and presidential. So yes, the political campaign has heightened, and everybody is looking forward to December 7th. I don't think we journalists are looking forward to December 7th that much, looking at the intensity of work that it entails. But I mean, it's for God and country. We would always need to do this for God and country. It's our responsibility to put out information, to let the general public know exactly what is happening and what is taking place within the political atmosphere. And we are doing that here, and this is what the Situation Room does.
It's all about.
To let our viewers and listeners know that, update them on the political happenings in the country. And this week has also been very
an interesting one.
A lot of activities. Starting from Amenfi Central. You mentioned that. You know, with the issue of the Amenfi Central, this had to do with the NDC in the Amenfi Central, where they went for a primaries to elect a parliamentary candidate. And this primaries was basically between, even though there were a number of people, there were two main contenders in the primaries, Joanna Jankujo and Peter Yao Kwache, the incumbent member of parliament.
And he's one of the members of parliament who Speaker Gwawin has asked them to vacate their seats.
The controversial members of parliament. I mean, as we speak now, the Supreme Court has overturned that decision. They still remain parliamentary members of parliament. And the only thing which changes is that they are not parliamentary candidates for their various parties. Some of them have gone independent, whilst the independent now is a parliamentary candidate. So yes, that's what has been happening. But in the Amenfi Central constituency, it was quite a difficult situation for the NDC in that particular constituency. After the first primaries, so there were two primaries held in the constituency. After the first primaries, Madame Jan Kujo came out as the winner, beating the incumbent Peter Yao Kwache Aka. Some members of the party within the constituency were not so happy with some of the happenings which took place before the primaries. They even raised concerns about the eligibility of Madam Kujo to contest this particular elections on the ticket of the NDC. So they headed to court. In court, they filed an injunction so the court could place a halt on Madam Joanna Kujo holding herself out as a parliamentary candidate because of the concerns they had raised with the first primaries. So the court eventually granted that particular injunction. After the injunction, Madam Jan Kujo actually still went ahead declaring herself as a parliamentary candidate, including the party also declaring her as a parliamentary candidate. She went ahead campaigning. So
these are pictures from the court. Yes. You know, the court proceeding.
This was after the ruling, the third ruling.
That's in and that's she's the one in white, right?
Yes, Madam Jan Kujo is the one in white. So what happened is that there was a second primaries because as of the time the EC was taking nominations for parliamentary candidates, the NDC had an issue in Parliament where the court had placed an injunction on Madam Jan Kujo. So what they did was that they went to rerun the parliamentary primaries. So about a day or two before the filing of nominations, they went to rerun the parliamentary primaries because one of the concerns or one of the things the applicants in court were looking for the court to annul the first elections. So the party went ahead to annul the first elections, held the new elections. Madam Joanna Jan Kujo came in and won that particular election. The incumbent who had gone independent also contested the second primaries. But before the primaries was held, he had to withdraw because we are told that during the vetting process, they realized that there were some irregularities and some illegalities as they
with his application,
with his nomination forms he filed for the primaries. His attention was drawn to it, and he decided to withdraw. They went to file the nomination forms after a number of weeks. When the ballot papers were being printed, the EC wrote to the NDC disqualifying Madam Joanna Jan Kujo, basically because the court had placed an injunction on her. The NDC then went to the High Court in Accra to go and seek an injunction on the printing on the ballots. That failed because the court dismissed that application. They further went on to the Secondary High Court, where the injunction was placed on Madam Joan Kujo. And one of the things they sought was to also place an injunction on the printing of the ballots and get the court to vacate the injunction placed on Madam Joan Kujo. The court was the case was held on Monday, and the court decided to vacate the injunction placed on her, giving her the green light to be able to contest this election. After this particular ruling, she was very excited, elated about the decision of the court, and she spoke to journalists and her supporters on what she made of this whole process. Let's take a listen to what Madam Joanna Jan Kujo said to the public after winning this election, the court case on Monday.
We thank God for everything that has happened today, especially also my new lawyers who came in to rescue me, because we've been going back and forth and everything, but this new lawyer stepped in to make sure that everything has gone well. And then we all know that sometimes people that your fathers or mothers were assigned to you, and some of these people are the same people behind everything. So the things that we've been through, I cannot go into details, but what I can say that I thank God and all the NDC members in Amenfi Central, branch executives, constituency executives, all the Western Region NDC people, in fact, regional executives, and I want to say many papa. We thank God for everything that has happened today, especially also my new lawyers who came in to rescue me, because we've been going back and forth and everything, but this new lawyer stepped in to make sure that everything has gone well. And then
so Sammi, that was Joanna Jan Kujo, the NDC parliamentary candidate for
So now we are safe to say she's the NDC parliamentary candidate for Amenfi Central. Okay.
She's been allowed to contest. Her picture, her name, the NDC symbol would be on the ballot.
Because remember the EC had put a hold on the printing of ballots in that constituency.
Yes, that was because of the injunction application filed by the NDC. And you heard Madam Joan Kujo. She says, go home and go and eat. Eat and make merry.
She's very confident of winning that particular seat.
Yes, that
is an NDC. It's an NDC seat.
A traditional NDC seat. If you look at the history of that seat, it's been a traditional NDC seat. The only challenge now is that you have another NDC member who is an incumbent MP running as an independent candidate. We are not sure of how that will play out in the constituency, whether Madam Jan Kujo can draw all the votes, or he's going to draw some of the NDC votes, which may allow the MPP to go through. This is a very close contest. It's an election we'll be putting a close eye on to check exactly what happens there. But now we know that it's an NDC stronghold in terms of parliamentary and even presidential.
Fred, let's move from the NDC. This week as well, there was an interesting development from the camp of the Ghana Freedom Party, Madam Ekuadonko's party, the late Madam Ekuadonko. The EC asked the party to fill the candidate within 10 days. The party was able to present a candidate. Yes. Interestingly, the Electoral Commission disqualified this candidate.
Yes, when we had the first journalist to be on
the ballot, and possibly all journalists voting for him.
I mean, Roman fans.
What explanation the Electoral Commission gave for disqualifying him?
So, according to the Electoral Commission chairperson, Madam Jean Mensah, what happened was that when they were given the 10-day period to file a new nomination, they did that. They accepted the nominations and everything. Afterwards, they went through their papers and realized that there were some challenges, there were some errors and some illegalities. Okay. So they were called back and given an opportunity to correct the errors. But after correcting the errors, the EC said it wasn't in their place to let them correct the illegalities. So based on the illegalities, the candidate was disqualified, meaning that the GFP will not have a presidential candidate to represent them in the 2024 parliamentary presidential elections. And
they were supposed to do all this within 10 days.
Yes.
The argument is that 10 days, after the 10 days will be too limited a time to get meet the requirements. Unlike the late Madam Ika, who was able to meet the requirement. Now it's a new thing altogether, a new person who must get endorsement from another people. They already have said that 10 days was relatively too short a time.
But 10 days is constitutional. That's what the Constitution states, that you have 10 days to come up with your nomination forms. And, you know, you've already gone around the country, so I'm sure you knew some of your members, or you know all your members, and you knew how to get them and rally around to get all the numbers, which they did. But we are told there are errors and some illegalities. We are not told the extent of the illegalities or what these illegalities were. But based on the illegalities, they were disqualified. And based on that, the EC now decided how to make a decision as to how the presidential ballot paper would look like. You will recall that about 2 weeks ago, we had a conversation about what would be the possible outcomes if the GFP decided not to
put in a candidate.
Yes, and various outcomes where either you take them off, you keep them, you'd use a black ink to cover that side, or then you have to reballot to see whether the numbers will change. I think the EC looked at all the possible outcomes after disqualifying the GFP's presidential candidate and decided that, look, we had already started printing ballot papers, and according to the EC boss, they wanted to save cost and all the controversies, you know. So they decided to keep Madam Ekweakodonko's face, name, party symbol in the ballot paper as it existed before she passed away. So on December 7th, when voters go to vote, you are going to see Madam Ekweakodonko number 3. But what the EC is saying, that there's going to be a lot of education to let people know that she's passed away, so that when you vote for her, that vote becomes null. It becomes void. Nobody can count it. It's wasted. So then you would have wasted your vote if you have voted for her. So that education would take place so that people would know and vote for the right candidate, or any candidate apart from Madam Ekweakodonko they want to vote for. So this is what has been happening within the Electoral Commission and the December 7th presidential elections. But you see, that controversy did not just end there. Soon after the EC decided to go with the current or the ballot paper as it stands now and exists, the presidential candidate for the
LPG,
the Liberal Party of Ghana, raised some concerns. In fact, his representative raised that concern during that IPAC meeting on Tuesday. But then, the day after, the presidential candidate himself raised the concern, saying that he did not understand and he did not believe that we should continue to keep Ekweakodonko on the ballot. He's saying that it's illegal. The EC should take a look at their decision and change it, take her off, and get a reballoting. This is quite interesting. We will take a listen to Kofi Akpaloo, the leader of the LPG, on what he makes of the decision by the EC to keep the voters, the ballot paper as it stands now.
At an emergency inter-party advisory committee meeting, the Electoral Commission announced its decision to disqualify Philip Apiakubi, the new nominee of the Ghana Freedom Party, citing irregularities in his nomination forms. Despite this, the EC stated that it will retain the original ballot order featuring Ekweakodonko's image to avoid incurring extra cost and logistical challenges with the December 7th election rapidly approaching. However, Kofi Akpaloo, the flag bearer of the Liberal Party of Ghana, addressing a press conference, criticized the EC's decision as flawed, demanding a reprint of the ballot that removes Ekweakodonko's image in the Ghana Freedom Party.
It's wrong for the EC to print a ballot paper with Mami Ekweakodonko picture on it. It's going to create a whole lot of confusion in the country. People who are going to vote for Mami Ekweakodonko, who is also, we are all aware that she is not alive. So how are they going to do the counting at the end of the day? Because the presidential ballot, we do the calculation based on the percentage. The percentages garnered by each candidate. Now, are we going to say that those who are going to vote for Mami Ekweakodonko, their one are going to be taken off from the ballot, or they're still going to be counted. We don't want a situation whereby a losing candidate will just stand up and say he's not going to accept the results. In view of this, we are asking the Electoral Commission to reprint a new ballot papers without Sammi Wiafe's picture on it.
Kofi Akpaloo added that he expects the EC to have no issues reordering the positions of the candidates on the ballot if a reprint is done.
So far as they are not contesting this election, all that we have to do is to take their portion out and then push the positions up.
It remains to be seen whether or not the Electoral Commission will heed to the cause of Kofi Akpaloo, who is demanding a reprint.
So, Sammi, that was Kofi Akpaloo. He's saying that, look,
but Fred,
he wants a reprint of the ballot papers and just move the candidates up. Then,
I think he has a legitimate point in the sense that if the candidate is no more, why still keep her photo on the ballot? And we live in a country where in every election there's education on rejected ballots. And if you look at the data, every election the number increases, rejected ballots. Now you're going to have the photo of a dead, for want of a better, a dead candidate on it. You still get Ghanaians still going to cast their ballot for this same person who is no more. Now
maybe
the Electoral Commission,
vote.
Yes, the Electoral Commission says it will not be valid. It will be an invalid vote. But to avoid all these things, is it that the Electoral Commission is racing against time, so the more reason why it can withdraw the already printed and print another one, or is worried about the cost of printing another ballot, or the political parties will not be happy about the movement of their candidates on the ballot paper because they've already started making or doing their campaign billboards and the rest with their numbers on the ballots. So assume that Electoral Commission decides that they're going to change. Your mama is number 8. GM, if the EC says okay, let's print a new one, Jadimi GM will come to number 7, and then the rest. So I don't really get it. But then if someone should take this matter to court, I'm very sure the person may have a good case.
But Sammi, when I hear you,
because there's no law backing this.
There's no law backing.
Yeah,
but
you see, the EC is just using its discretion.
Yes, but also you see, like you said, timing, cost, and the controversies. We are 23 days to an election. Yeah. You would not want to go through all these things. Even the issue of having to dispose of the ballot papers which have already been printed would come with a whole controversy. So for me, I think that the EC looked at all these factors and decided that, look, let's just keep it as it stands, as it is, and go ahead. What they would do is to educate people that do not go and vote for Ekwe because she's passed. And if you vote for her, your vote becomes invalid. So, I mean, you look at all those controversies, and for me, I would agree with the EC that with the number of days left, you don't need to go through all these tiring processes to have issues and even bring some issues of credibility to the polls. So for me, I would agree with the EC with the decision they have taken. But Sammi, not just with the GFP and Ekwe and Roman Father. Whilst all this was taking place, there was another issue with another presidential candidate who was disqualified.
Okay.
That's the independent presidential candidate, Sammi Wiafe. You know, when he was disqualified, he went to court.
Yeah.
And he was seeking the court to stop the process and also get him back on the ballot. But what happened? Today, Thursday, the court gave a ruling in that particular case. The court dismissed Sammi Wiafe's concerns, his arguments, and asked that the process should go on as planned. According to the court, his arguments were baseless. It didn't hold any water. So he's been thrown out.
So the Electoral Commission did the right thing by disqualifying him.
Has thrown
he
him
didn't
out.
meet the requirements.
He didn't meet the requirements.
Our very good friend Sammi Wiafe.
Yes, so he would have to go back and put his house in order. Maybe in 4 years' time, he can come back and contest again.
You're still watching The Situation. We're coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, the Electoral Commission has given a breakdown of the voter register, the number of voters in each region in this country, the number of voters on the special list, proxy, and then the rest. When we come back, Fred will take us through this particular data, and we'll zoom to the Ashanti region. There's something interesting happening in the stronghold of the MPP. The MPP says it wants to achieve 85% of votes from that particular region, but there's a development which may spoil the MPP's plans of getting that particular percentage of votes. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll continue.
Your health is in your hands, but at some point, it passes on to us. At Mintuba Hospital and Coloproctology Center, we believe that quality healthcare isn't a privilege, it's a right. Equipped with cutting-edge technology, we are fully prepared to effectively deal with all colorectal and proctological conditions. Our team of highly skilled doctors, surgeons, and nurses are renowned for their expertise in minimally invasive and painless laser, ligature, and lungoproctological surgery. We are committed to providing a wide range of services to meet the diverse needs of our patients. Mintuba Hospital, your health is our priority. Visit Mintuba Hospital today or call us at 0244 581 541 or 0271 054 204. Mintuba Hospital, in to serve a peculiar health need.
Excellent. Be that business owner that stands out and is very productive.
You're so confident. How do you do it?
It starts with Built. Where does your confidence come from? Paperwork made simple. Built takes all the hassle away. Yeah, don't be like her. Built is your all-in-one simplified finance platform. It's your home for invoices, payments, your payroll, and so much more.
Oh, wow.
Grow your business today. Sign up now at built.africa. Download the Built app now.
You're still watching The Situation Room, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. On Situation Room, we talk politics, and with just 23 days to the election, we've been updating you on the political development in the country. We went to the camp of the Electoral Commission, which will go again. We went to the camp of the Ghana Freedom Party. The Electoral Commission has officially disqualified its presidential candidate, who was replacing the late Madam Djabanor. We also took to the camp of the NDC in the Memphis Central constituency, where the court in Sekondi, High Court in Sekondi, says the NDC parliamentary candidate for Memphis Central, Joanna Kujo, is cleared and clean to contest the parliamentary election in that part of the country, which is the Memphis Central constituency in the Western region. This week, the Electoral Commission gave a breakdown. Last week, it announced that over 18 million Ghanaians have registered to vote in the December election. The opposition National Democratic Congress raised issues in respect of the breakdown of these figures. Now, this week, the Electoral Commission officially released those figures based on regions. Even though it is a breakdown, the parties are also raising a number of issues in respect of this breakdown. And Fred Djabanor has gone through these figures, and he will take us through. Fred, so even before the Electoral Commission officially released the entire register, we knew that it was around 18 million.
Yes.
But as to the breakdown, it didn't give.
Yes.
This week, it gave us the official breakdown.
Exactly.
What are these numbers?
So on the voters' roll, the total number of valid voters for this particular election, December 7th, we have 18,774,159 voters who would be on the register to vote. And then this is the breakdown. Mm-hmm. The breakdown, the total number of voters on the biometric register. Don't forget that now we have a biometric register. We've been using it since 2012. On the biometric register is 18,640,811. So these are voters who find their name on the biometric list.
So does it mean the EC has two lists?
No. So
why is the total number different from those on the biometric list?
When you come back, you tell you that you come to a figure which tells you about the number of voters who are not on the what do you call it? On the biometric.
Okay.
The number of people who are not.
So that's the last one. Voters without
biometric data. 1,870. When you put this 1,870 and 18,640,811 together, your total number will give you 18,774,159,000 people.
Okay.
So the total number of people on the biometric and the people who were unable to get their biometrics would give you the number over here.
As we have it as a total.
Exactly. Yeah. So the people without the biometric data, they would appear with their ID cards to vote. And when you go with your ID card, you'll be allowed to vote because your name will be put as part of the register. So even though your biometrics will not be found, when they go on the other list to check for your name and your name is found there, you'll be,
with your card, you'll be allowed to vote.
You'll be allowed to vote. Out of this, we have the special voting. So special voting for people who will be engaged in on work duties
on election day.
On work duties on election days. They are 131,478.
I'm sure you and I are included in this figure.
No, Sammi, we are not included in this. Unfortunately, we are not included in this figure. But you have the police, the military,
the security agencies,
the immigration, and all other essential workers who will be working on that particular day, part of this particular figure.
Okay.
Also, we have the total number of voters on the exception list. That is 33,352 people. The total number of people on the exception list. Now, let's come to total number of transferred voters. Total number of transferred voters. Total number of transferred voters include 310,579 people. 310,579 people. Then, total number of voters who will be voting on proxy. The proxy votes, who are people who have registered to vote on proxy. 2,141. 2,141. Then we go to total number of absent voters. Absent voters, 441,173. So these absent voters include special voters and transferred votes.
Okay. So that gives you the figure.
That gives you 441,173 people.
And which one is the total number of voters on multiple lists?
It means that people who are found to have registered more than once, or their names were found more than once on the register, meaning that they had registered more than once. There were 26,569.
So this is a breakdown the Electoral Commission
This is the breakdown the Electoral Commission has given. So on the day of election, December 7th, bang, you go register. How many people on the register? 18,774,159 people will be partaking in this election if they turn up.
If all should turn up.
If they turn up.
We're expecting all to turn up. Fred, and then the presidential candidates, they are still on the campaign trail.
Yes.
Dr. Bawumia is in the Ashanti region.
Yes.
And I'm told that he will finish his campaign in the Ashanti region. John Mahama has moved from the central region to the western north region. As we speak, he's in the northern west. And that's he's in Bodi, the Bodi constituency now. Moved from Djaboso to the Bodi constituency to also go and finish up with his campaign there. And Dr. Bawumia is in the Ashanti region. What have they been saying? Vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, I guess.
Yes, I mean, at this time, the only thing you can do is to convince voters and tell them why you should vote. They should vote for you. You know, you need to get 50% plus one vote. Yeah. Every vote counts in this particular election. So all the political party leaders, presidential candidates, are going to the people And you see, when you listen to the messages of these presidential candidates, you realize that they are tailored. Depending on which area they go to, they have a particular message.
Yeah.
And even though there's a general message they give, the NDC says they want change, they want to reset. The MPP says, look, we want to upgrade. So there's a general message which runs through, but the messages also are tailored based on the group of people they meet. As you said, the MPP presidential candidate has been in the Ashanti region. And even this week, the NDC presidential candidate was also in the Ashanti region. The Ashanti region is one of the most important regions.
It has become a very important region in our elections.
Regardless of the fact that it is a stronghold of the MPP. It's very, very, very important. Looking at the numbers, the Ashanti region has the second highest number of registered voters in the country. After the Greater Accra region. After the Greater Accra region, the Ashanti region has the second highest number of registered and valid voters. So the Ashanti region is a very important region. You mentioned earlier that the MPP says they are looking at getting 85% of the votes. The NDC is also targeting somewhere about 35%, meaning that once they believe that once they hit 35%, they are good to go. They are good to go.
The MPP also believes that once they hit 85%, they are good to go.
There are 47 constituencies in the Ashanti region.
Currently, MPP has 42.
42.
NDC has about 3 of them. Four of them.
And there's one independent. In 2020, we had Ashanti region having 3,020,141 registered voters.
In the Ashanti region.
That is in
the 2020 election.
The EC has now released the new list or number of registered voters for the 2024 elections. We are working the numbers and we'll let our listeners and viewers know exactly what number each region has. But let's take note that the Ashanti region had more than 3 million voters in the 2020 elections.
As the MPP hopes to break the 8 and get over 85% of votes within the Ashanti region, there's an interesting development. In a short while, we'll speak to Hafiz Tijani, our correspondent in the Ashanti region, to give us some insight on what we are hearing. We understand that over 22 individuals have filed to contest as independent candidates in the Ashanti region.
Parliamentary
independent candidates in the Ashanti region.
Most of them are from the stock of the MPP.
And in the strongholds of the MPP.
Yes.
And a total of 17 constituencies.
Wow.
Within the region, 22 individuals. Hafiz Tijani is our man in the Ashanti region. He's joined us on Dune to give us a breakdown of these figures and who are these individuals, these 22 candidates, and these constituencies that these individuals are contesting in this. Hafiz, thank you very much for your time. Hope you're well.
I'm well, Sammy. How are you too?
I'm well. God is still keeping Fred and I. Now, give us a general overview of campaigning in the Ashanti region. Let's start with Dr. Bawumia. How is the feedback for him in the Ashanti region as he continues his campaign there?
So he started his campaign a week ago where he visited the Atmamponia constituency. Then he went to the Atrima areas. Then he went to other constituencies. Yesterday, he was in the Edura-Sechidumasi areas. Then he moved to Nsuta, and they have zoned these areas. So when he's moving to that part of the region, then he has constituencies where he'll be scheduling to go. And when he goes there, he holds rallies, he meets traditional and religious leaders, as well as the party people. He also do the meet and greet kind of campaign, go to the people house to house to sell his messages to him. He goes there personally because that is one strategy the MPP has adopted since he came into the region from the Atmamponia constituency to the other areas he's been visiting. So today, he was in the Atmamponia constituency. He'll be moving to the Kwadasu constituency today also, and also to the Bantama constituency, where he'll be holding some mini rallies. He'll be meeting the clergy, the religious and traditional leaders, and he will also be doing this usual meet and greet campaign to sell his message to the people. For many, the MPP says that the people have heard the policies of the vice president, who is also the flag bearer of the party, on radio and also on the TV, but getting him to talk directly, to interact directly with the people is something they are convinced is going to work the magic. So that is one thing they have also included in their campaign. And the euphoria has been big, especially some of the constituencies that are stronghold constituencies of the MPP. And yesterday, even when he was in the Ejura constituency, he was telling the people to change their voting pattern. You know, the MPP is targeting the seats, the parliamentary seats of the Ejura constituency, and hoping to make some inroads in terms of votes in the Ejura constituency. So the vice president was urging them to change their voting patterns. They should also vote for the MPP, because the MPP is going to bring development. And you know, Ejura is a settler community. Most of the people who are there have migrated from the northern part of the country, and they are predominantly Muslim. So he says that the MPP has come to alleviate the suffering of the Zongo community by bringing initiatives that would enhance the development of the communities. And Ejura was one key community the MPP was focusing on.
We also told that John Mahama of the NDC was also in the region to meet some clergymen in respect of his campaign. What was this meeting about, and what they discussed?
Also, varied issues. So he talked about education, he talked about the economy, he talked about LGBT, where he was emphasizing the point that he is going to hold a stakeholder dialogue, should he assume power in 2025, and that he is going to ensure that the education sector will see a reset, because he believes that from the basic level, the education fortunes of Ghana, of the country, has dwindled under this current administration. So he was going to hold a dialogue with stakeholders, parents, the teacher unions, talk of NAGRAT, NAT, Coalition of Concerned Teachers, to come and then discuss some key issues they can use to raise the educational standards and also revive the education sector of the country. Then he spoke about what he intends to do when it comes to the economy. He spoke about his relationship with
Hello, Hafiz.
Kind of bring some cordial relationship between the party and the clergy. And he spoke about the National Prayer Day, the NDC government, the next NDC government will be bringing, to thank God and to also seek God's intervention in the management of the country.
Hafiz, this morning, Fred and I read an article, you wrote, detailing how some 22 individuals who are MPP members deciding to run as independent candidates in 17 constituencies seen as strongholds of the MPP. The MPP is hoping to obtain at least 85% of votes from the Ashanti region in this year's election. Who are these individuals, and why have they decided to run as independent candidates, and which are these 17 constituencies?
Okay, so let me just run you through the constituencies. We have the Obuasi East, the Obuasi West, the Bekwai constituency, the Odotobri constituency, the Achuma Wobeja North constituency, the Achuma, the Old Tafo, Subin constituencies, the Oforikrom constituencies, the Efija Pabri South constituency, the Ejisu constituency, the Asante Akim Central constituency, Asante Akim North constituency, the Efijuasa Sakori constituency, the Nsuta Kwaman constituency, the Mampong constituency, the Aswasi constituency. So these are the constituencies where we have these independent parliamentary candidates emerging. And when you go to the Ejisu constituency, we have 3 of the independent candidates there. And Ejisu is the stronghold, one of the stronghold constituencies of the MPP. And you go to a place like the Efija Kwabri South constituency, 3 of the independent candidates have also emerged there. And that constituency also plays a key role in determining the win for the MPP because it's a stronghold constituency. And these are individuals who were not happy about some machinations during the primaries, some issues, internal wranglings that they were not able to cope with. So they had decided to go as independent candidates. So the Bekwai constituency, the lawyer Amofa, you recall, contested with Joe Wise, and he had issues with the primaries prior to the 2020 elections. Then he opted out to contest as an independent candidate. Then the MPP campaigned massively against him and says that no, they shouldn't vote for him, though he didn't make it in that election, but he's making a comeback. And you go to an area like the Asante-Achim North constituency, there's this gentleman who is the owner of Salt FM, the Agogo-based Salt FM. He is also contesting Andy Appiah Kubi as an independent candidate. And 3 days ago, we saw an audio which was in circulation that sought to say that Andy Appiah Kubi was planning to rig the election. And this independent candidate has been so hard on this allegation, though Andy Appiah Kubi came out to deny these claims. But these are people who are not happy about some of the party internal issues. So the only way or the safest way for them was to go and contest as independent candidates in these constituencies. And they are campaigning vigorously. They are also reaching the people. They are going to the grassroots to campaign, and they are campaigning on issues like poor road networks, abandoned facilities, infrastructure. They're also campaigning on the economy, which is key in this election. And the people, most of them are buying into what the independent candidates are saying. And unemployment is a major factor in their campaign. So these are some of the issues these independent candidates are reaching out to the people with to campaign.
Yes, Hafiz, you made mention of the names of Andrew Esiama and Joe Wise. These are two very formidable candidates who are able to go into the Ashanti region as independents to capture the seat as independent candidates. When you look at these 22 people who are contesting in these parliamentary elections, how formidable are they? Would they be able to reach or outperform these two former MPs? I mean, Andrew Esiama, who is really now contesting on the ticket of the MPP, and Joe Wise. How formidable are they in their various constituencies?
Okay, so I mentioned the Bekwai parliamentary candidate who is contesting as an independent candidate. So in 2020, he tried to contest Joe Wise prior to the primaries, the internal primaries. So he had issues. So he went as an independent candidate. But the MPP intensified their campaign there and Formina. But Formina did not go well for the MPP, which they lost that seat to an independent candidate who has now rejoined the MPP. But lawyer Amofa also made gained some votes in the 2020 election when he contested with the first deputy speaker, Joe Wise. And he was seen as one of the formidable independent candidates when you take out Formina. So Formina was a focus, but Bekwai was also being considered because of how lawyer Amofa also reached out to the people. But the MPP also intensified its campaign in the Bekwai constituency in that year, in the 2020 election, and ensured that lawyer Amofa did not make it as a member of parliament for the area. So Joe Wise retained the seat. So when you go to an area like the Asante-Achim North constituency, Andy Appiah Kubi is also doing all he can to also retain this seat, because many see the independent candidate there who is contesting him, or Hene Kwame Frimpong, as one person who is so formidable, who has been reaching to the people. And people say he used the radio station to reach out to the people more, because that is one of the most listened to radio station in that enclave. So he has that advantage, and he's also going into these rural communities to engage with the people. So he's also seen as one of the formidable candidates who can also sail through. But when you come to the Subin constituency also, we have JB Dankwa. For him, he tried to contest Eugene Wati entry prior to the 2020 general election in their internal elections, but he also had some issues. So he went as an independent candidate. In 2020, he couldn't make it. And this time around, Eugene is not on the ballot, but there's a new candidate, Obri Boahin, for the MPP, Obri Abua for the MPP, who is also going to contest with the independent candidate, parliamentary candidate, JB Dankwa. So he is also seen as a known face in the constituency because he contested in the 2020 election and he's contesting this time around again. But when you look at the other constituencies, for the MPP, the other ones are not just a big worry, but where they know that some of the independent candidates are a threat, they are going to do a lot of work there so that they don't see what happened in Formina repeating itself in the 2024 general elections.
Yes, Hafiz, when you look at 2020 in Formina and the campaign and how the campaigning went down in 2020 in Formina, you saw the establishment of the NPP coming down to Formina to campaign against the independent candidate who eventually won. The president led the charge.
Including the president.
Exactly. The president led the charge for that particular campaign. After the whole election campaign and voting, the MPP, the independent candidate, Andrew Esiama, went on to win this particular election. And you could see the negotiations which went on to get him back and sit with the MPP in parliament. This time round, in the Ashanti region and these constituencies you have mentioned, what is the strategy of the MPP? Are they going all out against these candidates, or they have decided to play the middle ground so that it will not be that difficult when it has to come to alignment later?
Well, they are still maintaining that stance. They use the strategy also they used in the 2020 election in Formina. So when the vice president, as part of his tour to the Bekwai area, Chairman Wuntumi was telling the people not to recognize any independent candidates. He says that Bekwai is not for an independent candidate. Bekwai has been voting for the MPP, and Bekwai remains a stronghold constituency of the MPP, and that they should not vote for any independent candidate. They should vote for lawyer Raf, who is the MPP's candidate in the Bekwai constituency, and that should they vote for an independent candidate, developments are going to stall, because he says that the MPP has come to ensure that the roads within Bekwai have been rehabilitated, and that voting for an independent candidate is going to draw them back. So it is the same tempo the MPP is maintaining, only that they are intensifying their engagement with the rural folks, or maybe people living in the outskirts, the grassroots, so that they don't get them to vote for these independent candidates. And these candidates themselves who are on the ballot for the MPP are also themselves reaching out to the people to get to increase their votes, even as they campaign for the presidential candidate of the MPP.
Hafiz, my final question before Fred comes in as well. What has the party or the regional leadership of the MPP doing about this development? Because it looks like almost all these candidates or independent candidates have one way or other has things with the MPP or members of the MPP. What has the regional leadership of the party, Wuntumi and his group, been doing about this? Have they been, trying to talk them out? Did they make that attempt to talk them out before they're filing as independent candidates?
So even after they have filed and the Electoral Commission gave them the go-ahead to contest as independent candidates. There were some meetings being held. I spoke to some of the independent candidates who have told me that some party bigwigs from the MPP have come to them, telling them to step aside, and there were some negotiations. But most of them are not buying into that idea. But for the leadership of the MPP, they remain very strong because they have learned a lot of lessons. One, from the Formina incident that happened in 2020, and two, happenings in the 8th Parliament. So they don't want to take chances. So they are intensifying their efforts to get these seats safe for them so they can retain these seats. I spoke to the regional secretary, lawyer Adoma Pia. He was emphatic that they are not going to allow any independent candidate this time around to win any seats, even before going to them to appeal to them or do any negotiations to get them to join the House in the Parliament or to join their side in Parliament. They don't want to make any mistake to get an independent candidate win any parliamentary seats in the Ashanti region. So he said that there are strategies in place, specialized strategies they have put in place to ensure that this will not occur.
Hafiz, let me take you back to the presidential elections. We could even tie in the parliamentary. History tells us, when you look from the 92 elections, after every 8 years, incumbent parties usually suffer some sort of apathy in their strongholds. The NPP, which is incumbent now, in 2008, suffered a lot of apathy in the Ashanti region. You've seen the presidential candidate of the NPP, Dr. Bawumia, going there. In one of his rallies, he urged the people to turn out to vote. How are the people responding to his message to turn out? And is his message even going down well with the people? Do you foresee apathy in the region when you talk to the people of the Ashanti region? Do you foresee them telling themselves or deciding not to turn up to vote? What's the issue of apathy within the Ashanti region? Is this something which we should look out for, or is something which the party NPP has been able to address?
Well, there's apathy, and the party has admitted to this concern. They say that, some grassroots members are not happy with this issue we are talking about, these independent candidates. You know, they also have followers, and they are not happy. Internally, they are not happy. And when you look at the other key issues about roads, issues about abandoned projects, talk of the Central Market project, talk about some of the hospitals and all that, people are not too happy about some of these issues. The party itself admits that there's apathy, and that is what they are working towards to resolve. So what they have adopted is that they have issued targets to all the constituencies, especially the parliamentary candidates and the constituency executives of the party, to go and convince the people to get them to vote. But you still have people say we are not voting, especially within the youthful population who are saying that they are not going to vote because there's unemployment, there's economic hardship. So these are some of the issues the youths are talking about. You still have some elderly people who are also saying that they are not going to vote because of some issues relating to internal affairs or general issues about economy and other issues.
Hafiz, thank you very much for your time. Hafiz Tijani is our man in the Ashanti region, giving us a detailed report on developments in the Ashanti region. 22 individuals have filed their nomination to contest as independent parliamentary candidates in 17 strongholds of the NPP, or 17 constituencies in the Ashanti region considered as strongholds of the NPP. As you are aware, the NPP is hoping to obtain at least 85% of total votes in the Ashanti region. The NDC is hovering around 35% as its objective of winning a vote from that particular area. And with this development, Fred, clearly NPP is in trouble.
Trouble,
I would say NPP is in trouble because on the back of what happened in Fomina, it will be right and proper to say NPP is in trouble. Even if the independent candidates do not win, they may split your votes.
Yes, but
and is a region where you want everybody to turn out to vote for your candidates, your party.
But
and if you have others voting for independent candidate, it will not be counted as your votes.
Yes, but Sammi, what happens is that I don't think that this would affect the NPP in the presidential elections. The parliamentary, yes, but even that, as I asked him, how formidable were the people? If they are not that formidable, yes, they may draw some votes.
But you need all your MPs to in parliament.
Yes, I'm saying they may draw some votes, but will not win. But where they have very formidable candidates, they should be worried over there. But in terms of presidential, I doubt it would affect them in terms of the people who come and vote. Unless the people are really angry. If they are really, really angry, then that would affect them.
You heard Fred Djabanor. My name is Sammi Wiafe. We brought you the Situation Room on Channel 1 TV. Till we come your way again next week, may the good Lord be with us all.